Hello everyone, welcome back to Becca's Book Nook. Today I'm going to be talking about books by Lynn Painter. I have obviously mentioned Better Than the Movies on this channel before as a book that I think deserves all the hype. It is one of my 5-star reads, but I feel like I haven't really gotten that much in depth with it, so that's sort of what this video is about, as well as Mr. Wrong Number, which I just read all of it yesterday, read the whole thing yesterday, and I just kind of want to discuss Lynn Painter and what she does that I like in her books, and why both of these books have gotten 5 stars, and just why I love her because I love Lynn Painter. I would read her grocery lists. So I'm going to start by discussing Better Than the Movies a little bit more in depth because, like I said, I've mentioned it before, but not very much. So let's just jump right into that, as I have a lot I want to say. Something that I will just mention briefly is that Better Than the Movies is classified under YA or teens. It's a little bit lighter on the romance aspect, but it will still give you those stomach butterflies, at least it did for me. Whereas Mr. Wrong Number is definitely adult. It is in the romance adult section of the bookstore, so that is where you'll need to look for both of these. This one's pretty steamy. I picked up Better Than the Movies, I think in July of this past year, 2021. It was either June or July. I was on a camping trip and I read this book in 2 days. I didn't even see it on TikTok or BookTube or anything like that. I just went into a store and saw this cover, which is just beautiful. The cover speaks for itself. It has little scenes from a bunch of different classic rom-coms. This is Say Anything, this is obviously Dirty Dancing, Bridget Jones' Diary, The Notebook is down there, and one of my personal favorites, You've Got Mail, is down there. And it is basically, they're all redone in the style of Liz and Wes, who are the 2 main characters of this story. Sort of sum this book up a little bit for those who have not read it, I guess. And if you haven't read either of these books, leave now, read them, and then come back so we can talk about them together. I don't know what you're doing. They're both so phenomenal, so please go do that first. Coming back to the summary of this book, basically Liz is a rom-com lover. She got her love of the genre from her mother, who has unfortunately passed away, and she basically lives her life as if she's in a rom-com. She wears cute little outfits, nice dresses and heels. She always dresses nicely for school because you never know who she's gonna meet, what's gonna happen throughout her day, so she wants to make sure she's looking her best. She also has a love for music. She makes playlists in her head for moments that are happening. There's this one scene where they're playing basketball and she has songs running through her head as they're playing the game, which I thought was really cool because I do have very strong ties to music in my life. But my favorite aspect was definitely the rom-coms because I am a sucker for those old movies. So Liz is a little bit quirky. She is a phenomenal main character. She's very just herself. She's always herself. And what she really wants is someone to sweep her off her feet. So when old elementary school crush Michael comes back to her school, she decides that he would be the perfect guy for her to take to prom. The only issue is the actually getting him part, and she realizes that maybe by making it look like there are other guys interested in her, Michael would somehow come along. So she requires the assistance of annoying across the street boy next door, amazing Wes, who she has sort of always had a hatred for because he's always sort of been rude to her when they were little because they've always lived together or next to each other. So it is sort of enemies to lovers type beat, but it's also sort of friends to lovers. It's also sort of boy next door. It's fake dating. This is one of the things that I love about Lynn Painter. She puts as many tropes as she can into these books, and all of them just rolled into one make for the perfect romance read. As she is vying to get Michael's attention, she sort of realizes that maybe she is vying for the wrong guy's attention, as she realizes that her and Wes have more in common than she thinks they might. I really don't want to say too much more in this section of the video just because I don't want to get into spoilers if anyone hasn't read it. This story is also amazing. Found family. She has a new stepmother in the picture who she is not really, doesn't seem like she's the biggest fan of because she is still mourning her mother. So them sort of coming together is very heartwarming, and it's a great thing to have included in this book. For the next couple minutes, I am just going to get a little bit more in depth into Better Than the Movies. So if you have not read this book, I would say skip over it. I will have in the description where you can zoom to. This book had me swooning, butterflies, freaking out. Let's talk about the car scene right after they almost crashed, where it's raining and they have their first little kiss in the car. This scene literally had me sitting on my mattress when I was camping, just like freaking out. I think my mom was either already asleep or I don't know. I was just up late reading and I was like, oh my god, this is so cute. They are finally gonna get together. I was like freaking out and I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. This is the turning point. Obviously, it doesn't end up going very well. We'll talk about that later, but in the moment, it was a really good scene. First of all, Wes seems like the most amazing guy. I knew right away, obviously, that Liz was gonna realize that she wanted to be with Wes, even though she thought Michael was the best for her. I'm not really sure why, probably because he's more conventionally attractive, and I guess she wasn't a huge fan of Wes, but girl, you should know. Like, Wes even says enemies to lovers is their trope. Like, she should know that's what she wants. Especially since she's seen Pride and Prejudice, and, you know, her name is literally Lizzie, so I don't know how she didn't pick that one up. I absolutely loved every single interaction between Wes and Liz. I feel like they just really, like, fed off each other's energy, and it was just really funny and enjoyable. The dialogue is hilarious. I love when she sort of compares moments that are happening to her to moments that have happened in some of her favorite rom-coms. I loved all of the allusions to You've Got Mail. As I mentioned, it is such a great movie and one of my favorites. I loved just seeing Liz slowly transforming and realizing that she had feelings for Wes. The scene where they're watching the movie at Michael's house and they just kind of share a look and they're like about to kiss and then they like don't, was just so cute and romantic. And obviously the car scene followed right behind. Of course, right when things were going good, Michael decided to ask Liz to prom, and of course Wes watched and it hurt him, obviously. Shortly afterwards, they get into their big fight that they both say things they don't mean, and reading that just literally ripped my heart to pieces. I remembered reading that part and knowing that I had to finish the book like that day. I could not put it down. I had to finish it because I had to know how it ended. I was obviously thinking that they would be fine, but I just hate leaving it on that sort of like downward slope of the, I would much rather see the resolution through. This book is adorable. It brought me right back to high school. There's so many people in this book that like genuinely reminded me of experience that I had in high school. I adore Wes, as I said. I feel like I would definitely have a crush on him if I was still back in high school again. He's totally the type for that I would have a thing for. And Liz was such like a cute, relatable main character, and the music elements were really amazing in this book. As I said, I love that Lynn included a playlist at the back of the book. Like, that is literally so cool. It's called The Soundtrack of Wes and Liz. It's like every song that they had mentioned being a part of like their playlist, and it is on Spotify. I have listened to it before. Definitely puts me in a good mood. Lynn just has a way with her words that just like make me smile while I'm reading the books, which is like an amazing thing to have as an author. I hope to someday be able to do that to my readers as well when I hopefully finish a book. But Lynn's words just always, I feel like I could have said them myself. It's like she's inside my head, which once again is an amazing element to have. Next up, I do want to talk a little bit about Mr. Wrong Number, since it is my most recent 5-star read. As I mentioned, I picked it up randomly on a day that I just didn't have a lot of schoolwork, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna start this. And then I just read for the rest of the day and finished the whole book. So I will give a little summary quickly for those who do not know what Mr. Wrong Number is about. Basically, Olivia, she's 25. She is a little bit of a clumsy person. She's made some mistakes in her life, like getting kicked out of residence when she was in college. And she did just recently sort of accidentally burned down the apartment building she was in on the same day that she got dumped by her boyfriend, and she also got let go from her job. So things are just not going too hot for Olivia. So she is actually staying with her brother and his roommate in his apartment for a month while she sort of tries to get a new job, get back on her feet. And one night she happens to get a text from a random number, which she then classifies as Mr. Wrong Number. And they start this sort of text relationship. As that's happening, she's starting to think things are maybe looking up. She realizes that her brother's roommate, who she is now going to be living with, is his childhood friend, Colin, who has always sort of been a dick to her in their past. She finds Colin extremely attractive. She used to like literally be in love with him as a child, but obviously as they grew up, she sort of formed a hatred for him because he was always pointing out her flaws and just sort of being rude to her. So she's not too pleased to be living with him. Things get even more complicated when Colin finds out that his Miss dial that he accidentally texted actually turned out to be Olivia, his best friend's little sister, who is now sharing their apartment with them. Things get messy, things get steamy. It's a phenomenal read. That's all I'm going to say. Colin was insane, like a new book boyfriend. I will forever be thinking about him. Just the way he talks, the way he thinks, and the way I can picture him in a suit. Definitely did a good job of describing him, Miss Painter. And I absolutely loved Olivia as well. I thought she was super relatable, as like just like Liz. That's another thing Lynn does really well, is just create these amazing, complex, relatable characters. I did enjoy that she sort of was like klutzy as well, just because I do find myself pretty clumsy at some points, and I've definitely messed up a few things that I couldn't take back. So I definitely sort of related to Olivia in that sense. Talk about multiple tropes that Lynn likes to use in her books. This is wrong number, like sort of misdial, like anonymous texting sort of vibes, which kind of gave me You've Got Me All vibes again with the, fake anonymous emails and shit like that. And then we also have Brother's Best Friend, which is one of my all-time favorites. And then we also sort of have Enemies to Lovers, because Colin and Olivia have, or at least Olivia has always thought that Colin never really liked her because he's always sort of pointed out her flaws and sort of poked fun at them. So I really enjoyed all the tropes that she included in this book, as there were just so many of my favorites like rolled into one, which just makes for a 5-star read immediately. So yeah. Oh, there is also forced proximity as well, since she is living in an apartment with Colin and she doesn't really know about it until she sees him in the kitchen. So I'm going to get a little bit more in depth into Mr. Wrong Number now as well. So if you have not read this book, go pick it up, come on right back and we can discuss it. The amount of times that I looked at myself in my little makeup mirror right here while reading this book and just saw myself smiling like an idiot for minutes on end reading this book, it's kind of embarrassing. Everything that Lynn writes is just so funny and relatable and so cute. I'm just sitting here smiling like a loser at my book, which I loved. But if anyone saw me doing it, they'd be like, what are you reading over there? But I fell in love with this book from the beginning. I love the whole wrong number element. I love that they formed a sort of relationship that she felt was so important in her life, especially because everything was sort of on the downward slope for her, and then she found Mr. Wrong Number and everything sort of started going uphill. There were a few moments where I was really nervous about Colin and Olivia. I felt like things just kind of kept going to shit, and I did start getting slightly nervous about the outcome of it all. Obviously it's a rom-com, so I was expecting them to end up together, but it was just looking really rocky there for a bit and I was getting really nervous. I obviously loved the banter between Colin and Olivia, as well as the banter therefore between Mr. Wrong Number and Miss Dial. I thought that it was so funny, and I love that Colin was absolutely blown away when he found out that Miss Dial was Olivia, because he was just seeing a completely different aspect to her than he hadn't seen before, because previously he had just sort of been seeing her as his best friend's little sister, and now he was just kind of looking at her in a completely new light. And I did enjoy that it wasn't just like them having an accidental hookup and then him seeing her in a whole new light. It was that he was actually getting to know her on like a deeper level. The part that really started making me nervous was when he didn't tell her right away that he was Mr. Wrong Number. I kind of figured as soon as they started hooking up that he was gonna like tell her, but then he kind of just kept digging himself a deeper hole by like sending Nick in to pretend to be him. And it just really, I knew it wasn't gonna go well. I knew that as soon as Olivia found out she was gonna have like a genuine fit. I was getting really annoyed with Olivia's family. Like they were literally, her mom especially was so nasty to her. I did kind of wish that we went a little bit deeper into that, and I did kind of wish that Olivia like actually fully snapped at her mom, because if I was there I would have snapped, like gone off on her because she was being awful. She was belittling Olivia's like entire existence. And I think that's what made me like literally swoon when Colin came in and like tried to fix it. But yeah, this book was just adorable. Immediate 5-star read. I knew when I couldn't put it down that it was going to be 5 stars, and it was Lynn Painter. I saw it in the store. I didn't even know it was coming out, and I saw it and I grabbed it like the second I saw it. So yeah, both of these books are obviously 5-star reads. You can hear the way I talk about them. They both made me tear up at certain parts that I can't even really remember because I read them both so fast. Both of them definitely deserve a reread at some point. I would love to tab them. Their white pages look a little lonely without my colorful tabs, so I think I'm gonna have to do that at some point. Another thing that I wanted to mention quickly is that both of these books have a moment where the main guy character flexes his hand, and Lynn Painter makes an allusion to the Mr. Darcy hand flex moment in the like 2005 version of Pride and Prejudice, which I absolutely love because I obviously adore that movie, and that scene is just so filled with tension, and I love that she was able to bring that element into both of these stories. So I hope this video has inspired you to pick up a Lynn Painter book. Literally everything about her books make me smile, they make me happy, and the covers are beautiful also. I know she puts her like whole heart and soul into these books, and she's such a sweet lady, so I am really proud and like happy that these books are doing so well for her, and all of you should definitely go pick them up and read them. They will change the way you read. They'll make you so happy. They got me out of a reading slump, and I just think everyone needs to check them out. Also, Lynn, I don't know if you're watching, but if you are, that's awesome. I just wanted to say that your books mean so much to me. They make me so happy. If I'm ever having a bad day, I will often turn through the pages of Better Than the Movies and just hope that they put a smile on my face, which they always do. I know that I'll be doing this with Mr. Wrong Number now as well. I look forward to reading literally anything else that you write ever. Like I said, I would be happy to read your grocery lists. I can't wait until more of your books come out. I will be first in line to get them, and I wish all the more success to you in the future. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed hearing me talk about these 2 books that I love so much, and I hope you go pick them up. Comment down below if you've read them before or if they are on your TBR, because I would definitely encourage you guys to bump them up your TBR and read them ASAP. They will just make you so happy, I promise. Thanks again so much for watching this video. I hope you all have a great rest of your week, and I will see you next time. Bye!